Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
It's almost like it's the month that Tennessee's going to be playing football. Hit like and subscribe now because we are loaded up. And if you haven't turned those notifications on, do so, because we're going to talk about Nico Iamaleava and how he's making Tennessee's defense better. Right. As a redshirt freshman, first-year starter, making them better. Is that good or bad news? Also, Will Brooks may start at safety or at least play. Is that a concern or is that an okay thing? Tennessee number 15 in the AP poll. While I think this is all about Nico, so more Nico on the show today, I think that, frankly, and we'll discuss it more, that you have a lot of people that don't believe in Nico, that don't believe in Josh Heupel and his development of quarterbacks, despite what you and I and Caleb believe. This day in Tennessee sports history coming up, which team in the top 10 of the AP poll will finish the season unranked. And also, we'll rank Tennessee's position groups. That is on offthehooksports.com. The stat of the day, college football teams on the rise, and David Sanders set to announce. So a huge show. Caleb Calhoun, how are you, sir?
I am good. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm well. Let's go ahead and get into it right now. It is today's tough question, and it's brought to you by our good friends at Work Trucks. Today's tough question.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Brought to you by our friends at Work Trucks, and it is on our YouTube page now. So I ask you this question: Nico making Tennessee's defensive backs better is what? Awesome or scary? Now, I play off this quote as Tennessee visited with the media to properly set this up. And that is this quote right here from Jermod McCoy, Tennessee defensive back, said, "I feel like Nico is making me better. He is reading my eyes, and I need to learn how to give a different look than what he thinks is coming. He's definitely made me better." 92% of the people on YouTube say it's awesome. Nico is ahead of schedule. 8% say scary. What's with UT's defensive backs? Caleb, where do you stand?
I think it could be scary, but with the caveat, which is this. The reason I say it could be scary is because Jermon McCoy could be dealing with just playing in a system that is so up-tempo that puts so much pressure on defensive backs as it is, that he's not used to having that pressure put on him. So it could be maybe Nico's reading his eyes, but heck, maybe even if Joe Milton were running the practice right now, he'd still be under a lot of duress because Josh Heupel's system puts the defensive backs under a lot of duress, whether he's facing them or whether they're part of his team to be complementary. There's just a lot of pressure on them.
I believe firmly that Nico is ahead of schedule. And by ahead of schedule, I mean the average redshirt freshman. Today's tough question brought to you by Work Trucks, because Jermon McCoy is not a guy with zero experience. I know he's still an underclassman. He is a sophomore by class, but he has played in 12 games in college football at Oregon State. I started 5 as a true freshman. So it's not as if he's completely inexperienced. If a true freshman said that, I would think that no big deal. But he is experienced enough where this carries some weight. I think if Nico is starting to look people off, that in and of itself is ahead of where a redshirt freshman would be, Caleb. So if he's looking off defenders, if he's looking off defensive backs, forget about arm strength, mobility, and all that stuff. That's another level of understanding football. That, of all the quotes that came out yesterday, stood out the most to me as Tennessee's defensive backs met with the media.
Yes, but and on principle, I'm mostly with you, because look, Nico was a veteran last year when he played in the Citrus Bowl. His reaction to defenses was the most impressive I've seen for a true freshman. We didn't see him move players with his eyes as much, but there wasn't the opportunity. But his reactions were good. Jermon McCoy was a freshman All-American at Oregon State. I had plenty of reason to believe in him. However, and I want to make this clear, Jermon McCoy played in the Pac-12 North last year. Now, he did play UCLA, and I give him props for that. But, Dave, as you know, well, there was no Pac-12 North last year, but he played more Pac-12 North teams because he was going to play Washington State, Washington, and Oregon. And he also played the Pac-12 teams he ran against were Utah, Cal, and Stanford. Dave, everybody I named play that old-school Pac-12 style football. What I mean by that is, you know this, Pac-12 is quarterback-driven and quarterback-friendly, but it's not about tempo, right? Old school West Coast football is not tempo at all.
Okay, so you think that McCoy may be having a little bit more trouble with the tempo?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
Based off his quote, he's reading my eyes. That to me is different. Now, I think what may be happening, correct me if I'm wrong, is you already think a lot of Nico, so this probably doesn't surprise you very much, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But the other part of this is, Dave, the hard truth of this is quarterbacks don't really move players with their eyes in Josh Heupel's offense.
No, they don't.
I mean, who's he looking off? I mean, 95% of the time, the first read is there, for those who don't know this offense. There was a Hendon Hooker 2 years ago in his Heisman campaign, threw to his second read 16 times all year.
Let me clarify. That doesn't mean he knows the receiver that he's throwing to. He makes the read and then chooses one of two receivers, and to go to a different read would be looking at a defender. I'm not clarifying that for you, Caleb. I'm just clarifying for that some that might be watching.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, it's never really a first read. It's your first read is the opposite way of where the safety went.
He doesn't take a snap and said automatically throwing it to Brew no matter what. I mean,
he didn't do that.
Yeah, wouldn't want to. Okay, so he's wondering. That's an interesting stat. 16% of the time you have to make.
No, not 16%, just 16 times.
Oh, 16
times all year in 2022. Hendon Hooker threw to his second read. So that is how simple this offense is. So the only thing that throws me off with Jermon McCoy's quote is this, and now maybe this should be exciting for Tennessee. Is this a new element in the offense? Are they having Nico read off the first read more than Heupel usually does? Is Nico that good? If so, this leads to my point, Dave, beyond what I had even already predicted, which is that this offense could just reach another level. I can imagine if this Heupel offense has a quarterback who can look off his first read and move safeties with his eyes, given how quickly they're expected to get rid of the ball.
Okay, let me ask you this. Nico, I know your answer to the first question, but work with me here for a second. Nico overall will be better than Hendon Hooker, yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Nico overall will be better than Hendon Hooker this year than Hendon Hooker was in 2022.
Yes.
Okay. Nico will be better in month number 1 than Hendon Hooker was in 2022. And before you answer that, I want to remind you, brought to you by Work Trucks, all about trucks that are actually available, trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work truck vehicle now. The perfect vehicle, work vehicle, doesn't break down, has all the space to carry what you need. That's what Work Trucks is intent on offering, while other dealerships just can't do it. Contracting is about time. Work Trucks saves you time with less back and forth trips and trucks that pass the highest standards to be put to work. The process is also quick and easy when choosing a vehicle from Work Trucks. Cargo vans, utility body trucks with an app-hide work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, and anything special like cranes or dump trucks. Work Trucks specializes in vehicles For people just like you, contractors, no dealership run around, you've got to know Work Trucks, Clinton Highway or downtown Birmingham. Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. You can order online. If you're a contractor and you don't know Work Trucks, you're shorting yourself. You got to go to Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. Proud supporters of the Tennessee Vols. Will Nico hit the ground running and be better than Hendon Hooker right off the bat?
Yes.
I think you're crazy. I love you to death, but I think you're crazy. No, listen, he could struggle against Oklahoma potentially. That's a deep. He could, but he could, and but he's still, I believe, midway what you believe. By the end of the year, he'll be playing at a higher level than Hendon Hooker. But I think to say that he's going to run out there in his first year as a true starter and be better in month one is way too strong. I'll check the poll question on YouTube in one moment. First, you, Caleb.
Well, here's what you're missing. So if you said first 2 weeks, I would have agreed with you because I think Nico's going to play very sloppy against NC State. I think he's going to try. I think he's still going to be working on finding a rhythm with his receivers and everything like that. I think Tennessee's going to get past NC State. And I've been telling you guys this, and I keep saying it. Mark that date now, Tennessee, Oklahoma. That is going to be the watershed game of Tennessee football with Josh Heupel and Nico Iamaleava. They are going to light up Oklahoma that day. On Sunday, after that, everybody's going to talk about Nico Iamaleava. On Monday, the casual college football shows like the First Takes or the Colin Cowherd shows or whatever Skip Bayless is doing at that time, since this show is no longer in existence on Fox Sports 1. They will all be talking about Nico Iamaleava and this sensation that has taken over college football. It will happen at the Oklahoma game. Last time I checked, Dave, that's in September.
All right. So you think Nico is a better player in month number one than Hendon Hooker, who was a Heisman, who would have been a Heisman finalist, was a Heisman candidate, would have been invited to Oklahoma, or excuse me, New York, I believe. You think that Nico's better out of the chute. That's I go with you in a lot of these, but I can't go with you on that one.
Okay, so when I talk all the time about the quarterback created in a lab to run a system, sometimes they come out as true freshmen and just ball out, or first years in the system, but they take a little while. Like, for instance, Johnny Manziel, I will give you. Remember Johnny Manziel struggled his first month in Kevin Sumlin's system?
Yes.
But Kevin Sumlin wasn't there the year before. Go and look at what Jameis Winston did under Jimbo Fisher his first year. Jameis Winston was a redshirt freshman, had worked under Jimbo Fisher for a year, and came out and just absolutely lit up everybody from the start of the season.
It's a pretty good point. I'll give you that. But please hit that like and subscribe button. Of all the people that were going to take to the podium yesterday, I wasn't expecting Will Brooks, but he did. We'll discuss Will Brooks, a former walk-on. Could he be a starter in about 30 seconds? The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win, banksandjones.com. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com. No one was surprised when Willie Martinez came to the podium to talk about the Vols yesterday. No one was surprised when Jermod McCoy came to the podium to talk about the Vols during their media session, as he is a likely starter for this upcoming season. Will Brooks, though, hey now, that was a little bit of a surprise. Will Brooks goes out there, former walk-on, and there's talk about how great he is doing in preseason camp. Caleb, much like, let me ask you this. is that a cause for concern? If Will Brooks is really a contender for playing time at safety, is that a cause for concern?
It's a huge cause for concern, guys. This would suggest. Okay, you be ever the optimist, Dave.
I will hear you out. Go ahead.
Okay, so Will Brooks, Jordan Thomas goes down for the season. Tennessee turning to a walk-on to take over at safety after all the woes we have heard about them having at secondary in the past. That lends itself to the idea that Tennessee got worse in the secondary with all the players they lost this past offseason. Now, caveat. Boo Carter's young, extremely young, a true freshman. Maybe Will Brooks is a transition while they get Boo Carter ready to take over for the first team within a couple of weeks. But him working with the first team now is a very, very, very red flag. I'm just going to be honest. It's a red flag. It is concerning. I'm sorry, Dave. It is. You can disagree with me all day, but it's a major concern.
Well, Boo's going to most likely, I think, play the star position now that you have Jordan Thomas out of there. I think that's Christian Harrison and Boo Carter for that position. So if we want to look at Will Brooks at safety, I think that part of the reason he's getting more run there does have to do with Boo, because I think they were giving him a look everywhere, including the safety positions. So you're right in that the Jordan Thomas injury probably prompted this. I'm going to give you two words right now, and it's Bill Bates. Tennessee has had walk-ons before that have stayed with the program and have contributed. And I believe here's what plays out in Will Brooks's career. He plays some, he plays sparingly. He doesn't play a lot. He doesn't play significant snaps for the Vols this season. However, he is a coach on the field, a guy that can help people on the sideline. And I think that is undervalued, especially because I'm not incredibly high on Willie Martinez. So I think Will Brooks being in the conversation is a good thing, a great thing, as a matter of fact, for Tennessee. But Caleb, much like, let's say, I don't know, the running backs in spring practice, I don't put a lot of stock in he's going to be on the starting lineup come September.
Okay, that's fair. So then you're with me. You don't believe him, and you're just hoping that, well, not hoping, but you think the hope for Tennessee is that he is a transition until somebody else is able to emerge at that spot.
Yes. And I would also argue this, and tell me I'm wrong, and I want to hear from you on the message board. Will Brooks was a walk-on. The fact that he's even developed into a player that could potentially push for playing time says a lot about Tennessee's development, doesn't it? I mean, I look back at his recruitment. He was a nowhere guy. We talk about somewhere, anywhere, nowhere guys in your selections and colleges that you can go to out of high school. He didn't have options. He wanted to be a walk-on at Tennessee, and it's the bell curve. The only smart thing that Derek Dooley said is the bell curve. On one side, you've got your high-risk guys that are high talent, which may be a James Pierce. On the other side, you've got your low-risk, low-talent guys, which is probably a Will Brooks. Most of your guys, you want to be in the middle. You want to be great character, great talent, both of the all the above. But in this case, I think you got Will Brooks that can help Tennessee in more ways than just his athletic ability.
So, do you think he would actually see action this year, Will Brooks?
Okay, let's define action. Are you talking about mop-up duty? Because you would agree he's going to see mop-up duty in the second half, right?
Yes, I could give you that. He might see mop-up duty.
Well, I think a lot of mop-up duty given this offense. Do I think he will play significant snaps? Yes. When I think they go to dime, I think he'll play significant snaps. When they add a defensive back, I think there will be time he'll play significant snaps. And I have no problem with that. I think Will Brooks is a smart player. I think he's going to be in the right position. The thing that would scare me with Will Brooks is when you face a quarterback with a strong arm I worry about his ability to close on a receiver. That would be my one concern. If you think that Will Brooks can't play, Caleb, then we need to at least discuss the possibility that Tennessee trotted him out there as a reward for his hard play. Is that a possibility?
Oh, I think that's very possible. I think that maybe it's a way to send some sort of a message to the secondary at that point that, hey, some of you guys need to step up. We're putting some pressure on you guys. We brought you guys in here to perform. It's high time you did. Now, if you say Boo Carter's moving to star, see, the reason I think there's a concern is that signals to me that he's not as exciting of a freshman as we thought he might be. Because, I mean, let's be honest, if you put your better player at safety over star, even in this day and age in college football.
Now, I think that star's the more difficult position. I actually think the opposite. I think that Jordan Thomas playing at star was a way for Boo Carter to be able to find his way in Tennessee's defensive backfield, and the plan was for him to be the star long term. That's the way I'm reading the way they're doing things right now.
Okay, so you don't think there's any issues with this? I mean, Dave, I'm just having a hard time thinking that. Quite honestly, I got to be honest.
No, I completely understand. I just have seen situations before where I think it's a combination of two things. I think he's worked hard. I think they trot him out there. And I think it's a reward for him, even though some guys don't like talking to the media. I think he deserves the pub. It's not a coincidence to me that he was out there the day before their off day, so he gets even more pub. Caleb, I think it's a combination of he can play, he has developed, and he probably got a little bit more pub on the middle of the camp Monday than he would have had he been a player that the coaches didn't like. Fair way to put it?
Okay, I can get with that. But again, it is the Deshaun Bishop thing.
Let me meet you halfway. If Will Brooks is in the starting lineup against Chattanooga, something bad has happened. Is that fair?
Yes. I guess that's where I'm going. If he's in the starting lineup, there's a big problem.
If he's in the game in the fourth quarter against Georgia or Alabama, there's been a problem in the secondary, right?
Absolutely, there has been. Definitely.
Yes. Okay. So I don't think that's going to happen, and I'll tell you why. First 30 seconds from Medicare Misty.
19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
I remind you that Medicare Misty is licensed in over 40 states, so no matter where you're watching, she can help you with no charge on all your Medicare questions and your Medicare needs. Here's why I don't think it's really an issue, Brooks. I think they have a significant amount of safeties, and I'm talking about Jacoby Thomas, I think would be one. I think that Christian Charles could possibly be another. I think Andre Turrentine could be another. If Will Brooks gets in there, he's going to have to overcome quite a bit. And I didn't even mention corners like Jordan Matthews or Jalen McMurray, who have more athletic ability. Would they look at any point this week in sliding them to safety? I wouldn't rule that out either. So I just don't believe Will Brooks is going to be in the starting lineup against Chattanooga or in key situations later in the season.
Well, okay. And I'm actually with you on that too. I mean, I'll give you that. That's, I don't think that's crazy. I just think that it's a red flag that they're bringing him out now. Dave, let me ask you this. Do you think they'd bring him out if Jordan Thomas didn't get hurt?
No, I think that's fair.
Yes, that's where I'm standing on this. Is that if Jordan Thomas didn't get hurt, they wouldn't be bringing him out. So they're doing this as a reaction to an injury. So this does not mean it's a red flag long term, but it is a red flag right now until they find it. Put it this way, it's a dynamic red flag. Does that make sense?
Well, you don't mean dynamic as it's huge. You mean it could move, right?
Yes, it's a dynamic red flag and that it could move.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. When Tennessee was number 15 in the coaches poll, what was your reasoning behind that?
I felt that coaches were lazy and had felt that they had figured out Tennessee's offense based on last year.
Okay. My argument was very similar. I think it's lazy and lack of ignorance. Now, I'm not going to give the AP a pass, who had Tennessee at number 15 as well, because the AP voters should do their homework. I don't expect coaches to do their homework, have a sports information director, but the coaches had Tennessee at number 15. I firmly believe there is one reason why, and I think it's simple. I think it is Nico Iamaleava. Those close to the program think that he is going to take another step. I'm not just talking about me and Caleb. I'm talking about other reporters that cover Tennessee. I'm talking about those within the program at Tennessee. They believe he's better than Hendon Hooker. They believe he's going to take that step. Yet there are many in the national media that have been burned by Tennessee and Tennessee's quarterback play in particular. Tennessee wasn't ranked in 2022. Hendon Hooker comes out, has a fantastic year. Tennessee almost makes a 14 college playoff. Tennessee was number 15 in 2023. They finished 17 at the conclusion of that season, but really a little worse than that. They were fortunate to play an Iowa team at the end of the year. I don't think that voters trust Nico or trust Josh Heupel yet to know that Nico is really, really good. I think all the talk in the world wouldn't change that. I don't think it mattered. It would matter if he went to SEC media days or not. And I will say this too, Caleb, that you can play off of. I think that I firmly believe that Josh Heupel is downplaying Nico a little bit. He's just been available to media once or twice, didn't go to SEC media days. Is it ignorance that caused Tennessee to be number 15 in the AP poll when I would have had them at 10 or better?
Dave, let's call this what it is. It is people in much of media like to cover themselves while making a bold prediction. So they go with the safe bet in the end, which is the safe bet is, okay, it's safe for everybody to say Nico Iamaleava will be better than Hendon Hooker. Not Hendon Hooker, Joe Milton. But they're then scared to take the leap of, well, that means Tennessee's going to be very, very, very good. That just feels risky, doesn't it?
Yes.
But
you don't want to look wrong. You don't want to look like an ignoramus.
Yeah, exactly. It feels risky. So even though logically they find themselves seeing Tennessee to be the better team, they can't bring themselves to do it. Now, here's the other part. Everybody talks about Nico. There's two types of Nico talkers. There's me and Dave. We're like, we're just bull. We're like, this dude is generational. You don't know what you're missing. This dude's insane. And then there's the other one of the very, I call it coach speak, of the highly touted recruit that's just like, well, he's got potential. He could be good. If he's this, he could be good. You know, we're just going to have to see what happens. Go all in. Nico Iamaleava, I'm sorry. I'm not here, and I'm going to tell you this straight up, Dave.
Joe says we are the media. We're referring to the national media. Go ahead, Caleb.
Right. I'm not here for Nico Iamaleava to have potential. And I'll tell you why. $8 million. I got 8 million reasons for me to not believe in Nico as just a potential quarterback who could be very good. No. You pay him that money at college to be generational, game-changing, program set, trend setter, like just alter the course of college football history. So if he doesn't do that, then it's a letdown. And to think that he would do anything short of that, given the money they paid him, well, then you're not really serious. Then you have to acknowledge to yourself, if you're a national media member, you don't think they should have paid him that money.
No. And in retrospect, they had to pay him that money. They're never going to pay that type of money again. But do you know? Yeah, I mean, you know better than most, but do you know Washington's quarterback situation? Do you know the up and coming quarterbacks across the nation? I mean, if you're a voter for the AP, you should, but I don't think that a lot of the AP voters put the time into it that they should. And I think that copying the coaches poll to some extent was the easy way to do it. But I would not have Tennessee at 15, and I think the uncertainty about the quarterback position cost them at least 5 points. I almost think if Joe Milton was coming back, they'd be rated 15 or higher. Am I wrong?
No. I agree, and that's why that's my issue with this poll. That's my major issue with this poll, is that they didn't factor in at all the changes in quarterback play. And honestly, that's for me. It's really bad for coaches. Don't get me wrong, but it's pretty embarrassing for media members too, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's very embarrassing. I think that you should take it very seriously, and I don't think a lot of people do. I know people that have voted for this, Caleb, and they have absolutely spent 2 or 3 hours. I mentioned that to you before. I mean, to rank 25 teams should take you a long, long time.
Oh, it absolutely should take you a long time. And you should be doing thorough research on it. I get many, to be fair on this, and I want to be fair, many journalists can be overworked and underpaid in the fields that they're in. And then it's like, oh, you got to do this ranking of a top 25 that doesn't even impact the outcome of college football games anymore. And it can be frustrating. I understand that. But I do think, I mean, Dave, I'm with you. I think you have a responsibility, if you're going to have a vote, to do thorough research on it. I don't think that's crazy to ask, honestly.
Yep.
And yeah.
Finish. I completely agree.
Yeah. So I've got kind of an issue with it. You know, I get it. I do. I mean, I really, really do get it. But I do think at the same time, I take rankings seriously in the sense of, for those who don't know, the rankings, the journalism, the reporting, that's a staple of college football more than any other sport. You wield power as a media member in college football more than you do in any other sport, because the media and writing made college football what it is. Grantland Rice's superb writing in the 1920s helped build college football as a national sport. I
agree with that.
Yeah. And so you got to take some pride in what you're doing. And you can't be in favor of Josh Heupel throwing $8 million at Nico, but then not think he's going to be so generational that he's going to immediately make Tennessee great. You can't hold those two thoughts in your head. If you give him $8 million, he should be great immediately. Otherwise, that's a waste of money. You don't pay that money otherwise.
By the way, Oklahoma's quarterback not doing so great. I want to tell you about that. First, tell you about Sports Treasures. Over 35 years in Knoxville, over 5 million Sports Treasures. Hit like and subscribe. Be sure and follow them on Facebook at Sports Treasures TN, Sports Treasures TN. And they also are a partner in what has become a fantastically fun endeavor, which is Hooker's Corner. You can join right there, be a part of Hooker's Corner, and you can win a monthly prize that I forgot to announce yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it out right now. Here we go. Check this out. Now, this is the side that's not autographed. This is an orange helmet for those on our audio platform. Who is it autographed by? I will tell you later in the program. You can also win a fantastic prize from Rick Terry Jewelry Design. So here's how it works. Be a part of Hooker's Corner. Hit that QR code, just $9.98. Get a welcome prize. Also be eligible for monthly prizes, including this autographed helmet. Should I go ahead and tell everybody who it is now, Caleb? What do you think?
Go ahead. Roll it on out.
There you go. Can you read it? It's Joe Milton. Joe Milton autographed helmet is right there for you to win. All you have to do To win that is be a member of Hooker's Corner, just $9.98 a month. We would love for you to be a part of that. You'll also get recruiting updates as well as more interaction with me and Caleb. You'll also be entered into Rick Terry's Grade 8 Garmin Challenge. Get ready for Rick Terry's Grade 8 Garmin Challenge, brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Design. Rick Terry Jewelry Design will provide a Garmin watch worth over $1,000. All you have to be is a free member for this promotion of our YouTube page and of Hooker's Corner. So it's that simple. They've got the Fire Opals with Rick Terry, and they are awesome. Rick Terry's Jewelry Design, rickterryjewelry.com, rickterryjewelry.com. Absolutely love them. In exactly 2 minutes, it's going to be this day in Tennessee sports history. And what top 10 SEC team in the AP poll will finish unranked? Because there has been one in almost every single year. So what program basically are we selling? We'll discuss that right after this. Stay tuned. 2 minutes with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. This is a production of Off the Hook Sports.
5th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that. If we wouldn't put our family in it, we're not going to put their family in it. If you're going to say that you're doing the best work in Knoxville, now saying it's one thing, producing it and providing it's another.
The largest family-owned collision center in Knoxville is Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
23 F-150 Super Cab 4x4 STX, $45,985. 24 Ford Escape, $30,962. 24 Ford Maverick XLT, $32,720. Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Way to win, banksjones.com.
He tries very hard. The Dave Hooker Show.
All I know is when we win a game, it's a team win. When we lose a game, it's a team loss.
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable!
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Travis said, but when you got that Milton helmet, you went, sheesh. Crystal says it's fitting that Joe Milton autographed that helmet. Listen, he's going to be the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. I'm fired up about this helmet, and you can win it. You can also purchase Celebrate 98, the untold stories behind the 1998 National Championship team. I think the QR code is partially covered up. If you want to go to offthehooksports.com, it's easy. We have a merch store there. We would encourage you to check that out. Also, at your fine dealers such as Hound Dogs and Alumni Hall. So, Caleb, Cole Kublik, a friend of the program, he was fantastic to join us pretty recently and certainly enjoyed that. But he came up with a really, really cool stat that I had not heard of before. Can you share that with me? Because I think it's surprising and will surprise a lot of our listeners and viewers.
Yes. So, since over the last 20 years, there have been, I kid you not, 18 top 10 teams in 18 of the last 20 seasons. a top 10 team to enter the year finished unranked. Now, let's have a little bit of fun because one of those would have obviously been, Dave, the 2005 Tennessee Vols.
Right.
Who started the year ranked number 3 and finished the year unranked.
Gotcha.
I don't have the stats in front of me, but I believe it goes back further than 20 years. Because I know, I think you could actually have as impressive of a stat as top 5, and it would still look pretty good. But I distinctly remember, I'm sure you remember this, Dave. Do you remember the 2000 Alabama team? Started the year ranked number 3 and went 3-8?
Yes.
2002 Tennessee started the year number 4, went 8-5 in their first unranked season in 17 years at the time.
Yes.
I'm just saying that I think he just stopped at 20. I bet he could have gone back 50.
But he could too. All right, let's go to 4 downs right now. And which SEC team could fall out of the top 10 we discuss?
4 downs. 4 questions. 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
4
downs. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, 4 downs brought to you by our good friends at Quality Tire Pros. The Eberle family has been serving Chattanooga's community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service automotive, brakes, alignments, oil changes, and more. You can trust Quality Tire Pros in downtown Chattanooga on Cherokee, qualitytirepros.com. Tell Bo that Off the Hook Sports and Dave said, hey, Bo. All right, let's go with down number 1 as Cooper will set us up. Excuse me, Coop, what do you got?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Thanks, Coop.
Coop here. First down.
First down. Now, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and Ole Miss are in the top 10 from the SEC. Who is a lock to finish the season in the top 10?
Well, Georgia's a lock. Of those 4, I'm not even even if they're a disappointment.
I don't think it's debatable. If you had to pick second.
I think Alabama. I think Alabama's still talented. I have the question of Jalen Milroe and Jalen Milroe being a fit for Kalen DeBoer's offense. But, they still have a lot of talent, and Kalen DeBoer is a good coach.
Yep. I have trouble arguing either side of that. So let's go second down, Coop.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
Which of these teams are locks to make the top 25 at the end of the year? Here's my answer. Georgia, Alabama, and Texas. I don't think Ole Miss is a lock. I think they're the most volatile team. I think they could surprise us the most in a positive or negative fashion. Ole Miss, I don't think is a lock to be top 25 at the end of the year.
Let's have a little fun.
Okay. I like fun.
Georgia's the only sure lock. Alabama is the second most sure lock. Ole Miss nor Texas are locks. Ole Miss is more likely than Texas. You heard it here first. Texas is the most likely of the 4 to not finish ranked this year.
Have you seen that Texas schedule?
It's very favorable. It's still tougher than it was last year.
Okay. All right. What down, Coop?
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Okay. Of those 4 teams, who will not finish in the top 10?
Oh, Texas. Texas will not finish in the top 10. You heard it here first. Texas ain't finishing in the top 10. Y'all come for me. I'm ready, Texas. I'm not scared of you, Texas. You don't scare me. I'll mess with Texas all day long.
What down next, Coop?
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
All right. So you have to pick a team that is most likely to finish inside the top 10, not named Georgia. Who is that? So we know that you don't like Texas. We know that I don't like Ole Miss. Are we just going to agree that it's Alabama by default?
Yeah, it's Alabama by default at that point.
It is.
So let's go through the rest of the list because I got a few. Dave, I think a few of these top 10 teams are in flux, though.
Lay them on me. You want to share the top 10 list, or do we want to read it off?
Yeah, let's go. We could share it. So number 1 is Georgia. Okay, top 10. Number 2 is Ohio State. Crazy enough, that may not be a guarantee. Chip Kelly, Ryan Day could clash.
Too easy of a schedule, especially with Jim Harbaugh gone. I think that's a lock.
Okay. Oregon, I think Oregon's more of a lock at number 3, honestly.
Agreed.
than Ohio State. I think Oregon finishes top 10. We talked about Texas and Alabama and Ole Miss. Now, here's an interesting one, Dave, and this is a total wild card, and I think you and I are on the same page with this. But Notre Dame has made the only 3 teams. Okay, let me just tell you their 4 toughest games: Texas A&M, Louisville, Florida State, and USC.
I don't know that Notre Dame's not going to finish outside the top 25, but because they get favorable voting, but they're not going to finish inside the top 10. They're already replacing an All-American tackle, and then their other All-American tackle ripped his pectoral in practice. So they've got issues, and I think the Freeman hire was a bad hire to begin with, so I'll stick with that. Who else out of the top 10 do you not see finishing in the top 25?
So after that, we're looking at Penn State. But then again, I mean, Penn State's they don't even play Michigan this year. So they're going to get their easy 10-2 path and finish number 10.
Right.
And number 9. Now here's the question, Dave. This is going to be an interesting one. Michigan plays Texas the second week of the season.
Michigan won't finish in the top 10.
You don't think? Oh, wow. Okay. So they got at Ohio State. They have Oregon. Yeah, and they have at Washington. I could see them not finishing in the top 10 either. And then last, number 10 is Florida State. They'll finish in the top 10 by default.
Because of the ACC. So which teams do you have not finishing inside the top 10? Because I got another exercise for you.
All right. I got Texas. I got Notre Dame. And I got Michigan. And I'm with you. Now, the question gets tricky.
So you've got 3, right?
Yes. I got 3.
Okay.
That's my sure ones.
Now, my question, I just want to deal with the sure ones. My question for you, 11 to 25 and beyond, who are the 3 that take their place? Brought to you by TriStar Hats. For the latest in TriStar Hats, go to the original hats, apparel, and more. TriStarHatsCo.com. TriStarHatsCo.com. Use the promo code HOOKED. That's HOOKED for 10% off. I'll tell you mine. I think that it's Clemson because it's the ACC. I think it's Tennessee because I'm higher on Tennessee the most. And then I'm open for debate for that third team that climbs inside the top 10.
See, I think it's clear-cut not Clemson because I think
I think they both could make the top 10.
Well, here's the thing. Then we're talking 4 because if Clemson's in, Florida State won't. There will not be 2 ACC teams in the top 10 at the end of the year. They're not going to do that.
Okay.
So I can maybe give you Clemson. Let's say Clemson and Florida State are interchangeable. How's that? So we still got to come up with 3. I've got Tennessee. I'm with you on Tennessee. You can call me crazy, but the actual best team in Texas this year, Texas A&M.
I was about to go A&M. They're at 20. Now, what about Missouri at 11, Utah at 12, LSU at 13? A couple of SEC teams there. Could they climb inside the top 10?
I'm going to stick with my default will be LSU. I'll go to LSU. And y'all can call me Caleb the LSU homer. I'm just going to say this. LSU better finish in the top 10. If LSU's not in the top 10 at the end of this year, I'd put Brian Kelly on the hot seat immediately.
I think LSU's the team most likely to have the most disappointing team out of the entire SEC. I got a weird feeling from talking to some people that things may not be as copacetic as they once were with Brian Kelly at LSU.
Here's my question. LSU, USC. By the way, USC is ranked number 23. They open the season against each other. Do you think the loser of that game could very likely get fired at the end of the year?
Well, I think they're going to make a change at Southern California anyway with Lincoln Riley. So I will say that change happens. If LSU loses, then maybe that changes Riley's path. Then maybe that hurts Brian Kelly at LSU. So I would say that if I'm going to predict, regardless of what happens in that game, that Riley's out and Kelly has another solid year. In other words, he's not on the hot seat in 2025. I think they'll be about a 9-3 team. And then if he goes about 9-3 again, then he'll be in the hot seat in 2026. They've just committed so much financially to him.
They have. Okay, so one last question, because we haven't taken the Cole Kublik bold stance, because the question isn't top 10 teams not in the top 10 at the end of the year. It's top 10 teams not in the top 25 at the end of the year. You got to pick one, Dave. Throw one out there. Do it. I'm ready.
Oh, of all the top 10s not in the top 25?
Which top 10 team will not finish in the top 25 this year? Not in the top 10.
Okay, so I don't have to pick an SEC team like a Volatile Ole Miss. Just any team?
Yeah, any team that won't finish ranked. They're not going to finish the year ranked.
Give me Notre Dame all day long.
All right, you got Notre Dame. I got Texas because I'll just go down the list real quick. Texas is going to lose to Michigan. They're going to. This may be my bold prediction. We're going to do bold predictions, guys, next week. But I think Texas is going to get upset by Mississippi State. And I think Texas is going to lose to Texas A&M. I think they're going to lose to Georgia. And so I got 4 losses on their schedule, and I bet there's an upset somewhere down in their future.
Interesting. All right. Coming up, David Sanders has announced when he will make his decision. So that's exciting. But has a 4th team entered the mix? I don't know. I kind of feel like this guy's gotten swept up a little bit in his recruitment and is having a little bit too much fun with it. But we've got other things to get to before we get to David Sanders, who will make his announcement here shortly. Pardon me, Caleb. Excuse me. It's time to rank the Vols position units for 2024. If you want to set that up, what do you got, sir?
Yeah, let's have a little fun. All righty. So we are ranking the position units by how good they are. Just a quick heads up. I didn't factor in returners because I'm not sure that's really a position group, but I did factor in kickers and punters as one position group. I also separated defensive linemen and edge rushers because I think it's officially time we make edge rusher its own position at this point in football. So That's where I go. Number 10, the worst position group on Tennessee this year is running back.
I can't argue with that, but I think it's better than you do. And I think Deshaun Bishop is maybe a little bit better than I thought initially based off some recent conversations. So, but I can't argue that it's 10th. Secondary, you have 9th.
Yes. These are the 2 ones that are the biggest concerns, running back and secondary. And we've gotten red flags about both of them the last 2 days with Will Brooks and Deshaun Bishop. I've got the secondary 9th. Now, there is more reason for excitement about the secondary this year than there has been in the past. But I still think you can't leave me. You can't say, given how bad they were the last 3 years, and now they have all these new faces, that all of a sudden they're not going to be a problem again. Like, I can't say it until I see it.
Agreed. Tight end is number 8. This, to me, after looking at your list, was the most volatile. Tight end could end up being number 3 by the end of the year.
Yeah, tight end is one of those where it's all potential. Ethan Davis is a rare athlete that we all think could be amazing. But you don't know if he's going to be amazing because you haven't seen him play like you have Nico in the Citrus Bowl. And you don't know anything about the other tight ends. Remember, Josh Heupel likes to alternate tight ends. He likes a receiving tight end and a blocking tight end. He wants Ethan Davis to be his receiving tight end, but we don't know if Miles Kitselman or Holden Stays can hold down that spot. Yeah, so I just – and that's a hard position to pick up because with the blocking tight end, with the schematics that they run, there's a lot you have to pick up with that. You got to pick up more than the quarterback does in this system as the tight end sometimes.
No, I agree with that. Portions of the program brought to you by Don Self. That State Farm customer service still matters, especially when you're trying to get that claim for 40 years. Don Self and State Farm have built their business on taking care of their customers in the greater Chattanooga area. Call 423-396-2126 or go to donself.net. That's donself.net, 423-396-2126 or go to donself.net. Who's up next, Caleb?
Before we move on, I have to send a shout out to Travis because he says he's a Texas fan because he hates every SEC team that doesn't wear orange. And, Texas wears orange. So, nice to know you're a Texas fan, Travis. Just trolling you. I'm messing with you. Okay, so number 7 is, and this is going to be controversial again, offensive line. And
it's way low to me.
Let me explain why.
Okay.
Tennessee has 2 surefire bets. One very likely bet, which is John Campbell at right tackle. But you can't call John Campbell at right tackle surefire because you've never seen him play right tackle. And then I'll say a likely bet in Lance Hurd, but not very likely because you've never seen him play left tackle and you've never seen him play in Heupel's system, and he's learning Heupel's system. So, but that's 4 that should likely work out. They are a total question mark at left guard, a gigantic question mark that nobody knows how that's going to play out. And then there is no answer for their depth right now. And so when you look at that, I had to drop them down here because they genuinely don't have depth.
Okay, but let me ask you this. If they had depth, or if I could tell you that none of the starting 5 were going to be injured, where would you have them?
Okay, I'd have them 4 or 3 because then they'd only really have one question mark and to be left guard. But Lance Hart is not a guarantee at left tackle, guys.
Well, I have gotten really good reviews. Really good, not off the record, but conversations. I've gotten really good reviews. I think there were some people that tried to start rumors that he had some sort of injury in preseason camp. I don't know what that was about. Sometimes the internet drives me crazy. Irony that we're here. Number 6, kickers and punters.
Yes. So, sorry.
Oh my goodness, there you go.
Did not mean to do that. Did not mean to do that during the show, guys. I apologize.
That's fine.
So yes, kickers and punters, number 6. It's a 50-50 proposition right now. They're set at punter. They have the best punter in college football, maybe in Jackson Ross. Problem is, I don't think Tennessee wants to use their punter that much this year. I think Josh Heupel does not want to use his punter now. There's questions at kicker with Charles Campbell gone. You think Josh Tuberville will fill the void, but you don't know yet.
No, that's fair. Now you have quarterback at number 4.
Wait, you missed one.
Oh, did I miss one? Linebacker number 5. Sorry.
Yeah, starting with linebacker up, I just want to say up front, this is why I'm so high on Tennessee, Dave, because it's half the roster. These are the position units I have no concerns about. There is a 0% chance they will be problematic this year. And I'm starting with linebacker.
Yep. And we know of Arian Carter. We know of Keenan Pilley, but you also need to know of Jeremiah Thielander.
So they have depth. They have improvement.
Right. And Caleb Perry, I think, is going to be a really good player. Then you have quarterback at number 4.
Yes.
That surprises me because you're very high on Nico.
You get hurt. You need depth in any position. And you're the one who told me that Gaston Moore is beating out Jake Merklinger right now. So that's kind of now, again, it's number 4 because
I don't know that he's beating out Jake Merklinger. That was a discussion that we had. And I think there could be an argument made if something happened to Nico in the first month of the season. But no, I don't know that he's beating out Merklinger. That would be.
Put it this way, quarterback's down at number 4 because I can't guarantee myself that position is going to work out this year because if Nico gets hurt, we don't know if it's going to work out.
Fair. There's not great depth at that position, but is there ever great depth in college football at quarterback?
There's not great proven depth at that position. That doesn't mean that there's not depth. We just don't know. So that's why I have it at number 4. But yes, in some places there is great depth. I mean, look, whatever you feel about him as a person, Dave, remember that coaching job Urban Meyer did in 2014 when he won the national title at Ohio State? His starting quarterback, Braxton Miller, went down. Then JT Barrett went down at the end of the year. And then he brings in Cardell Jones and goes and wins a Super Bowl. That's pretty darn good coaching.
The top 3 brought to you by the Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. The promo code HOOKED for 10% off. Wide receiver comes in at number 3.
Yes, wide receiver comes in at number 3. You can make a strong case for them number 1, honestly. And so basically wide receiver, we know who the number 1 go-to receiver is going to be, Brew McCoy. We know Squirrel White is probably going to be the slot guy. I think it's a safe bet. Whoever they pick between Mike Matthews, Chris Brazel, and Dante Thornton on the other side is going to work out. Not to mention there's Braylon Staley, Chaz Nimrod, and Caleb Webb showed promise where they could be effective last year. Nathan Leacock's on the roster. I had no questions at wide receiver. You could have like 3 injuries and they'll be fine there.
I believe the top 4, based off what I've been told in recent conversations, are going to be McCoy, White, Brazel, and Nimrod. Does that surprise you at all?
McCoy, White, Brazel, and Nimrod. No, that doesn't surprise me really.
I think Brazel's going to play on the outside. Defensive line. Now, again, this is different. So I'm going to kind of combine these. You got defensive line at number 2 and then edge rushers number 1. That means Tennessee's going to be really good up front defensively, right?
They are going to be incredible up front. incredible up front. I think this unit is going to be super elite. And I think you start with in the interior, Amari Thomas, Omar Norman-Lott, Bryson Eason, Elijah Simmons, Jackson Moy. All those guys are either contributors or potential superstars. The one defensive end spot that plays up on the line, Tyree West, Dominic Bailey, those two are bound to work out, with Tyler Barron gone. And then at edge rusher, man, with reason it's number one, not just James Pierce. Oh, also David Hobbs behind West and Bailey. But then at edge rusher, James Pierce, Joshua Josephs, and Dave. You've seen the clips. You've heard the coaches talk. Raw talent sounds like Jordan Ross could push James Pierce even.
He's not going to push James Pierce. Come on, Caleb.
The dude is amazing.
Okay,
the dude is amazing.
Push James Pierce.
The dude is amazing. No, James Pierce will be the starter this year. But Jordan Ross is incredible. He's incredible.
Okay. All right.
Put it this way. If James Pierce is Leonard Little, Jordan Ross is Sean Ellis.
I don't hate that. Sean Ellis was a first-round pick now.
I think Jordan Ross is a first-round pick. As was Leonard. And by the way, Sean Ellis was better in the NFL than Leonard Little was.
He was significantly better, but a lot of that was because of off-field issues.
Off-field issues, and Sean Ellis also played for a defensive-oriented team in the Jets for years, whereas Leonard Little was stuck in that Rams, greatest show on turf system for a long time. But, yeah, Sean Ellis was better in the NFL. They both were Pro Bowlers, though.
Yep. Crystal's right. Nimrod putting in the work over star ratings. Absolutely. And I like that guy last year. I think he's at the very least Ramel Keaton, but I think he's better than that, as a matter of fact. But if you're able to replace Ramel Keaton, that's a big, big factor. David Sanders, the offensive tackle that everybody wants, set to make his announcement. Also, we're going to go to programs on the rise. And here just momentarily, some breaking news. The stat of the day in 2 minutes. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. This is Off the Hook Sports.
Supercab 4x4 STX, $45,985. 24 Ford Escape, $30,962. 24 Ford Maverick XLT, $32,720. Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Have you seen the latest TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co.? What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Ah, gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TriStarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TriStarHatsCo.com. That's TriStarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TriStarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOKED. That's hooked when I do, to save an additional 10% off. TriStarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without express written consent is prohibited.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show,
Who?
a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Welcome back to the program. David Sanders talk coming up here momentarily. Caleb Calhoun, though, we have some breaking news brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. Don't trust a fly-by-night HVAC company to tell you that you need a new unit that could cost thousands or more. cityheatandair.com, cityheatandair.com. Please hit the like and subscribe button. People thought we were crazy when we were talking about the potential for Neyland Stadium and a name change, but I've seen it before with Thompson Bowling Arena presented by Food Cities Aisle 7. So, Caleb, we have news concerning Neyland Stadium's name and its future. What is it?
Yes, and this is the ultimate gaslighting of all time, because here is what it's going to be. Tennessee and Pilot have entered into a partnership that right now will last for at least 20 years, but then could be extended beyond that, to preserve the name of Neyland Stadium and preserve the name of Shields-Watkins Field. Now, on paper, that would address the fear you had or I had of the stadium name change happening, right?
No, it completely legitimizes it.
That's what I think too. And here's why. They're gaslighting the heck out of us. They're saying it's preserving.
Gaslighting is a fairly new term. So explain what gaslighting means, just for those that don't know.
Making you feel crazy for not believing your eyes, basically, or what you heard. Like basically saying like telling you, almost making you trying to make you sound ridiculous for believing something that you witnessed to be true.
Okay.
And so what they did is they said, we are preserving the name of Neyland Stadium. So it's now going to be the official full phrase for Neyland Stadium will be Neyland Stadium, home of the Vols, proudly preserved by Pilot. Well, then you're not preserving the name of the stadium when you put the corporation name right there in the headline of it. On top of that, the sign now is on the east side of Neyland Stadium. We'll have a return of the iconic home of the Vols phrase that was there during the Johnny Majors year, but it's going to have Pilot's logo, and Pilot's branding is going to be on each side of Shields-Watkins Field.
Can you can you share a picture with us, Caleb? Is there a way you can share your screen? Because I'm having a little bit of trouble visualizing it. I'm definitely not having trouble when I want the best Asian cuisine. That is Asia Cafe, one of Hook's hangouts. Asia Cafe, treat yourself to authentic Asian cuisine, handcrafted from guarded family recipes, 5 locations to choose from, and the best coffee you'll ever have. AsiaCafe.org, AsiaCafe.org. Are you able to pull up a picture of it?
There's no renderings yet of what it's going to be.
Okay.
But basically, the Pilot logo will be on both sides of Shields-Watkins Fields. Will be at the part of that we tied to the iconic home of the Vols sign, and now they're going to say Neyland Stadium, home of the Vols, proudly preserved by Pilot. And they're trying to tell us that means that they're not tampering with the name. That's the definition of tampering with the name, isn't it?
So let me explain how things have happened at Thompson Bowling Arena and Food City Center. Matt, we're going to try to find out how much Pilot is paying. But that's what they did with Thompson Bowling Arena. And Thompson Bowling Arena presented by Food City Center. So really what this comes down to is, are the networks going to play nice? And most of the time they are. They're going to put presented by Food City or whatever. But the actual play-by-play guys, and I know of one play-by-play guy in particular that said, I'm just going to call it Thompson Bowling Arena. I'm not going to do that whole mouthful. Well, the mouthful you gave me about Neyland Stadium is worse than Thompson Bowling Arena. Will you say it one more time? You say Neyland's, go ahead with the whole thing.
Neyland Stadium, home of the Vols, preserved by Pilot.
Okay, there's no play-by-play announcer that's going to say that other than Bob Kessling, and he's probably contractually obligated to.
Yes, exactly. This is such, and here's the other part. And I'm gonna go ahead and go into my spiel again, because you guys know how I feel about this person. Now, this is Big Jim Haslam, because he's the one who runs Pilot. Big Jim, most of the time, has been a booster that has stayed out of the way, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is my warning sign to you guys. It's the same warning I had with the college football playoff. What did I always say about the college football playoff, Dave? I didn't like it expanding because they wouldn't stop at 4. I said they'd expand. They expanded. They're not going to stop at 12, by the way. They're going to try to go to 20 when they can because of the money. It's the same when you start doing this with corporations. They're not going to stop at just having their name affiliated with the actual name of the stadium. They say that now. There's 20 years on this deal. Now, Big Jim may not be around in 20 years. Okay.
Little Jim may not be around in 20 years.
Do you think but you are banking on whoever's running Pilot willingly sitting around and agreeing to not have their name just take over the stadium long term. That's how this plays out long term. And here's the truth.
So somebody says, let's just call it Pilot Stadium instead of that mouthful. That's what somebody says.
Somebody who works at Pilot, big wig in a suit in New York City is going to say, why call it Neyland at all? Let's call it Pilot Stadium after Jim Haslam is long gone. And they're going to realize, hey, we can threaten UT to pull all funding if they don't do that. We don't have to sponsor them. And that's exactly what will happen. And Dave told you guys this. I didn't do it. Dave warned you guys this was the way this would go. It's not about right now. It already looks lame to say preserved by Pilot. I'm talking about 20 years down the road. Say failed businessman Jimmy Haslam, the son of Jim Haslam, takes over Pilot. The failure at life that he is. Do you think that him and his arrogance wouldn't just say, I want it to be called Pilot Stadium now?
I would guarantee you he would want it to be called Pilot Stadium. The question I have for you, is this good or bad for the University of Tennessee?
It's bad. And it is a flaw in Danny White. And I'm going to say this with all due respect to Danny White. I think it's a great hire of coaches. I think he's very forward thinking. He's very cutting edge on a lot of the stuff he does. Danny White has been treating Tennessee like it's an up and coming program like UCF that needs to do a lot of stuff that it doesn't need to do. And I think that's going to wreck the program. Building a giant Marriott to obstruct the view of the stadium from the Tennessee River and selling out naming rights of traditional arenas. I actually didn't hate on Food City the way you did, Dave, because Thompson Bowling, I'm sorry, it's not that steeped in tradition. It's just not. The building was built in 1989. Okay, but Neyland Stadium is totally different. And I'm sorry, Danny White, you could have found other ways to do this. And you are gaslighting us when you are saying this is to preserve the name of the stadium, when you just could have preserved the name of the stadium. You didn't need a partnership.
I'm going to ask the question on our YouTube channel, and I want you to vote on that poll question. It's pretty simple. I had to cut it down a little bit because I couldn't remember all the verbiage. But do you like the Neyland Stadium preserved by Pilot? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you like the Neyland Stadium preserved by Pilot is good? That is the worst writing ever. You know what I mean? Right now it's 50-50. Yes, money isn't everything. No, that's still a name change. I think this is a good thing, Caleb, because people are still going to call it Neyland Stadium, and you're not going to have somebody else swoop in and throw out a lot of cash. Besides, as far as boosters go, isn't Pilot one of the best?
Dave,
I think this is a really good thing because it staves off somebody else from taking the first part of the name, blank stadium, and it being a company that you don't know as well.
Dave, you're missing the long-term ramifications of this. Right now, it preserves the name of the stadium. This is, again, just like when people said the 14 playoff is great, we addressed the issue of playoffs. But what I said at the time is, right now, it's a 14 playoff. But once you open the door, the expansion and the greed doesn't stop. Okay, so right now it seems. What do you think is going to happen, Dave, in 20 years when that contract is up? Which is, for 20 years, the name Neyland Stadium is preserved. Well, let me just look up Big Jim Haslam's age real quick. I'm just going to look that up.
78.
78?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm guessing, but he's round about there.
Okay. Let's see. Well, Jimmy is 70, so he's got to be older than 78.
Oh, yeah, that's way older than 70. How old is he? Oh, I thought you were.
Okay. No. I'm looking.
Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm looking for Big Jim Haslam.
Here's the question I'm going to I'll rephrase it because I did just a terrible job. Do you like Neyland Stadium preserved by Pilot as the new moniker? No, money isn't everything. Yes, it saves the name. So if you had to choose between those two options, it's saving the name. Would you agree with me that it's a good thing?
No, because it's not. I just don't agree with you that it's saving the name. I think this is the start of it not saving the name. Big Jim, by the way, is 93. So he won't be here when the naming rights are up. Okay, let's just call it what it is. He's not going to be around when the naming rights are up. I'm sorry, when the naming rights are up, guys, maybe it's Jimmy. Maybe it's one of Jimmy's kids. Maybe it's Bill Haslam. Maybe it's some random bigwig in a suit taking over Pilot. They are not going to care anymore about the name of Neyland. This is what they do. This is what corporations do. They gradually make you accept a relinquishing of things you hold dear. To then one day you wake up and you've lost it all. People say that was about communism. That's what corporations do too. And Pilot is doing that to you at Neyland Stadium right now. They are doing that. They are gaslighting you into thinking they're not doing that. Okay? They are gradually making you think you are not giving up everything you hold dear. That's what the bowl games did, Dave, by the way. Think about this. Remember what it used to be called? First it was the Citrus Bowl and the Orange Bowl, right? Or
yes.
whatever.
I know exactly where you're going here, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Then it was the Capital One Citrus Bowl. Like, okay, we're going to sponsor the name. And then one day they decided, wait, let's just make it the Capital One Bowl. Why do we even have to call it the Citrus Bowl? Why do we even have to call it the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl? Let's just call it the Tax Slayer Bowl. That's what they're doing here. They're starting with their name, and then they're going to take over the stadium name.
Do we know any of the finances involved? This is just breaking, so we may not know yet.
I don't think any number was put on it as far as as far as I see. Now, this is going to help fund renovation projects that I think people do love the idea for Neyland Stadium, and I understand that. Yes, this is. There's not exact numbers of this right now, and quite honestly, they're sending you to pilotflyingjay.com, and Pilot CEO Adam Wright is the one responsible for this. So it's possible. I'll just be honest. It's possible Big Jim Haslam had nothing to do with this.
I think it's very possible.
And
yeah, but I think that if you want my opinion, I think Danny White went to about 4 different companies, and I think he positioned it. This is just my opinion. I don't know this, okay? I want to be very clear. But he positioned it with Pilot in a way that made it hard for them to pass up. So I think he went to what about Food City Stadium for $20 million a year? And then he goes to Pilot and he goes, oh, yeah, I got Food City interested. What about Preserved by Pilot? That makes you guys look good too. That's what I think happened.
That might be it. Guys, I'm just
surprised if he went to Dollywood like we discussed.
Pilot Flying J is the one pushing this the most. It looks like, this is Pilot and Pilot Flying J are different. For those who don't know, Pilot Flying J is an offshoot of Pilot that Big Jim gave to Jimmy Haslam because Jimmy Haslam couldn't run anything on his own, so he needed Daddy to give him a company. Okay,
but that's I don't blame Pilot. That's their job. If you're going to blame anybody, blame Danny White or the University of Tennessee. I mean, it's Pilot's job. If somebody tells me you've got to change the name of your website, you've got to change your name. It's not their fault. It's my fault if I change the name of the website.
Yes, this is even worse with Pilot Flying J involved. And I have to absolutely trash Tennessee for doing that. Guys, the decade of dysfunction is largely because they were associated with the Pilot brand. Okay, they let Jimmy Haslam run the show, and he ran it into the ground. And this makes me want to vomit. I mean, honestly, now they're already on top of all of this. It's a partnership now. I'm reading. It's confirmed. It's a partnership with Pilot Flying J, not Pilot. Pilot Flying J with the worst booster in SEC history in Jimmy Haslam. Okay, and Peyton Manning has now released a video talking about the greatness of this. This is all happening as this story is breaking. He's got a video out talking about how great of a partnership this is. Tennessee, enjoy being run by incompetence because Jimmy Haslam does not step back, okay? He puts his hands over everything and he turns it all to you know what. He is a failure at everything, and now you've let him get into position to manage whatever the heck he wants.
Okay, let me throw this at you. You mentioned the CEO for Pilot Oil?
Adam Wright.
Adam Wright. Why wouldn't he be in charge instead of Jimmy Haslam? I'm not suggesting that Jimmy Haslam or Big Jim didn't sign off on anything, but maybe this is Wright's baby.
Well, I thought that was it, but Pilot Flying J sounds like they're basically that's what Adam Wright is the CEO. Basically, it looks like they have merged with Pilot. Here's what happened. Okay, I'm going to tell the full story because I was covering the reason I'm confused by this, and I'll be honest, I was confused. Pilot Flying J was an offshoot of Pilot, given to Jimmy Haslam because Jimmy Haslam couldn't do anything on his own. In 2017, Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, acquired 38.6% of it and basically effectively merged the Pilot brand. So Pilot is Pilot Flying J. They're kind of all the same thing now. And Adam Wright's the CEO of that. But Jimmy Haslam is one of the most involved people with it. And just because you know this, Dave, it's a private subsidiary. So while Adam Wright may be the CEO, he is the chair. Jimmy Haslam is the chairman of the board. And he's the most powerful person with that company. Tennessee just sold itself to Jimmy Haslam, the person that tried to force the Greg Schiano hire through.
I think that the Haslams were still very much involved. I don't think this changes much. I will say this. Let's talk about money for a second. Is there a dollar figure that would make you change your mind that you would think this is a good idea?
No. I would rather never be controlled by Jimmy Haslam.
Can I throw a dollar figure at you?
Sure.
Okay. As of January 2024, the Levi's deal for San Francisco 49ers, their stadium, was worth $170 million over 10 years. That is a pretty monstrous deal. And I'm not suggesting that Tennessee would get as much as the San Francisco 49ers because there are essentially, 9 home games now when you include preseason. And Tennessee would have just 6 home games? Is that right? So I'm not suggesting they're the same. And I know the NFL is bigger. But if you're in the ballpark of $10 million a year, Caleb, I understand selling that to somebody and the way they did it. I guess my take is it disgusts me. I hate the fact that you're just throwing tradition by the wayside. However, Caleb, with that being said, this may be the best case scenario in which you're working with somebody you've worked with before. I don't think Danny White is going to let the Haslams run things. And it's still Neyland Stadium first. And you're going to get a lot of cash. This may be the best case scenario. Would you at least give me that it's best case scenario?
I still can't go there. If you have to sell out to a corporation, sell out to another one. For one, the NFL's already
our big difference. We both agree that it shouldn't be renamed at all.
Right.
But if so, you say not Pilot. I would say it should be Pilot because you know them.
NFL is already super corporatized. New stadiums are built all the time because of that. That's just what it does. College football has a lot of Major League Baseball in it. Whereas if you guys know, Major League Baseball, some places, the Cubs like to preserve their stadiums because the history is more valuable than any corporatized new stadium they can build. And all of college football is that way. So it's a little bit different on that front too. When we're comparing companies here, Levi's is an embedded company in America that was founded in 1854. And so
it's okay. That's fair. You're talking to a guy who played baseball at Levi Park.
Yeah. So Levi's was responsible for jeans becoming casual wear among mainstream audiences. So,
so a little different from another oil company.
Yes, a little different from a run-of-the-mill oil company. And by the way, look, I usually say oil executives ain't the brightest bulbs in the box. Big Jim actually is an exception because he actually, when he envisioned Pilot, envisioned a creative way.
Well, he killed the dinosaurs that turned into oil.
Oh, he did. Is that what he did?
That's how old he is.
Also, I'm gonna do the optics here. No one's really gonna pay attention to this but me. But this is the company that ran a scam to get out of debt and was stealing money from minorities at gas stations.
I was ready to go there if you weren't.
Yeah, that's what that's what Jimmy Haslam was doing, along with Bruce Pearl's daughter. And so this is a company that I'm not here to knock Jim Haslam. But sometimes good businessmen can spoil their sons, and then their sons become entitled brats and failures at everything, and then become bitter that they're failures.
Let me ask you this question, and I posted it as a poll. Neyland Stadium naming rights should be our worth, but anyway, is worth Neyland Stadium naming rights worth under $1 million, $1 to $5 million, over $5 million a year.
How about priceless?
Pretty good answer.
It's priceless. I'm sorry, man. This is gross. And it's also gross that I don't know what Pilot has over Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was willing to sell the Greg Schiano hire. Remember that? Like, it doesn't seem like he's trying to be an NFL owner anymore. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I don't know why he would run PR for this. And it's disgusting.
A guy they might buy with some of that cash from Neyland Stadium is David Sanders. Discuss him. Hang tight with me for 2 minutes. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports.
Cab 4x4 STX, $45,985. 24 Ford Escape, $30,962. 24 Ford Maverick XLT, $32,720. Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vols collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Have you seen the latest TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co. What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TriStarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TriStarHatsCo.com. That's TriStarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TriStarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOKED. That's hooked when I do, to save an additional 10% off. TriStarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without express written consent is prohibited.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show,
Who?
a presentation of Off the Hook Sports,
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
All right, let's get to the stat of the day. What do you got, Caleb Calhoun? Before we get the latest on David Sanders, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're on the Twitter, feel free to retweet, or you can leave your comments there. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win, banksandjones.com. The stat of the day is, Caleb?
Wait, do you want stat of the day first or this day first?
Let's do stat of the day first. How about that?
Okay, so today is 8/13, August the 13th.
August the 13th. That's pretty good. 13.
And
21.
In 2015, Tennessee came back from down 24-3 to beat Georgia, with Josh Dobbs scoring 5 total touchdowns to win 38-31. That was Tennessee's 813th win of it all time as a program. It also was, for those who don't remember, the turning point that gave Butch Jones a brief year where people really thought he had things rolling. because Tennessee was 2-3 at the time. They come back to beat a top 10 Georgia team. And then they lose to Alabama, but win the rest of their games to finish 9-4 for the first top 25 finish since 2007. Then they start the next year 5-0 with the hobnail boot game to get to the top 10. And everybody thinks the program's rolling, and then immediately everything collapses. But there was a start from the Georgia game of 2015 to the end of the Georgia game in 2016, where Butch Jones was on a dramatic rise and ascent. And honestly, for that 1 year, had the hottest program in college football. And right after the Georgia game of 2016, everything went to hell in a handbasket.
Pretty accurate. All right. So this day in Tennessee sports history is?
The last time the preseason AP poll was released on August the 12th was back in 1996 when Tennessee came in ranked number 2. It was their highest preseason ranking since they were number 1 in the preseason 51 poll where they won the national title. Unfortunately for them, they didn't live up to that. They lost to Florida, falling behind 35-0. You probably remember that game well, Dave.
Yeah.
And then they lost to Memphis later that year to go 10-2. Bit of a letdown team. I think that team put, after going 11-1 in 95, my feeling is the team in 96 just put too much pressure on itself. And kind of.
Yeah, and I think they let the Florida loss get to them. There's no reason you should have lost that game to Memphis. And by the way, that kick returner was down, by the way. But anyway,
his brother actually was my PE teacher in 8th grade.
Yeah, his elbow was down to go way back in history. Okay, let's talk some David Sanders. Can we share his little display, his recruiting display, as we remind you that you can get increased recruiting coverage? It's pretty simple. Just go to Hooker's Corner. The QR code is right there. And if you are a paid member, you are eligible to win our monthly prize, which is a Joe Milton right over my shoulder autograph helmet. Or you can be a free member as well, and you can be in the drawing for Rick Terry's Grade 8 Garmin Challenge. You can win a Garmin. That's right. All you have to do is be a free member of Hooker's Corner and a subscriber to this station. We hit 8,000 subscribers, we will announce the winner. But to win that monthly prize like the Joe Milton helmet, join Hooker's Corner for just $9.98 a month. All right, so I'm looking at this David Sanders display that they put together, and I guess On3 did this for him, or I think they're announcing on 247. I don't know. There's a bunch of graphic designers with a lot of free time on their hands. Let's describe for our audio listeners what you have. You have Tennessee on the left, Alabama in the most prominent position in the middle, and then you have Ohio State. Whoa, I lost it.
Sorry.
And then you have Ohio State on the right in a less prominent position. The least prominent position would be Nebraska, when the player on the display looks like he maybe need to use the restroom. All right, so Caleb, what does this say about Tennessee's recruitment, this graphic display? Does it say anything about Sanders' recruitment?
I mean, it is standing out that Georgia's the biggest, isn't it?
Oh, I said Alabama. I meant Georgia. Sorry.
Yeah, it is standing out that Georgia is that. Well, wait, maybe you're right. No, that's Georgia. That's Georgia.
Yes.
It is standing out that Georgia is the biggest, but we've gotten all the rumors that Georgia is not as much in play as we thought. So this could be a head fake, and it's, he's a North Carolina kid. I don't really think there's much to it. Now, it does say "where's home" in front of the Tennessee guy, and the home arrow points straight towards either the Nebraska or Georgia player. And so you're like, does that mean anything?
It also says "where's home" and Tennessee listed first, followed by Georgia, Nebraska, Ohio State in that order.
It does. So you guys
But
take
Nebraska also has what looks like, I don't know, a portable outhouse that they can use.
and a boombox because they're Nebraska.
A boombox and a portable outhouse. You never know what they're going to make.
Because they're Nebraska and they're still preparing for Y2K out there. And so I think that this is I don't think there's much to read into this. This is hard to read into. I still have my money on him landing at Tennessee. I'm going to pull this off now, pull us up because we look better than he does. So My money is still on him on David Sanders landing at Tennessee. And I don't think there's much into this. He commits August the 17th, which is, I want to say, this Saturday, right?
Yes.
When he commits.
This Saturday.
So
will Tennessee have, in your prediction, the number one offensive tackle in the nation, the number one player in North Carolina come Saturday?
Yes. And they'll have a top 5 recruiting class come Saturday.
I think they will too. Who did Tennessee ultimately beat out, in your opinion? Georgia, Ohio State, or Nebraska, if the balls end up landing Sanders, which we believe will be the case?
I think Ohio State. I think what happened is Ohio State opened up some NIL money to try to land him, but he saw the writing on the wall with the fact that Ohio State has that whole Chip Kelly, Ryan Day situation going on, and I think that he is smart to say it's not worth going to that for an extra bit of NIL cash.
Well, or Tennessee just matched it. It could be as simple as that. It could be they said
is that so you're saying that pilot money may have been worth it?
Yeah, that Neyland money, that the Neyland pilot money. I mean, they may have said we'll give you $400,000, and Tennessee was sitting at $300 and said we'll go ahead and match it. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I just don't think you need to be paying players $2 million anymore that aren't proven, but reasonable money, not reasonable to you and me, Caleb, but reasonable when we talk about sports. Hundreds of thousands are reasonable.
When you're a number one offensive tackle, I don't think you should let $400,000 or $300,000 make the difference in where you go. You are looking at
$100,000. You're going to go to a good place anyway. It's not like you're comparing Tennessee to, I don't know, a very, very Wake Forest.
You've covered recruiting well enough. Those type of 5-stars, and I mean like the number one prospect in the nation. Maybe you're right. Does it matter that much where they go, or are they going to get picked up by the NFL anyway?
that kid, if he has the right attitude, I've watched him. He has the ability to be an NFL player.
So, now, even if he goes to a disaster of a program that's horrible for 4 years, he'll still be a first-round pick if he lives up to his
right.
Okay,
yes. So his attitude's impossible to predict, though.
Right. So I guess where your future matters maybe outweighs NIL is if you're like a 4-star fringe 5-star, right? Where like you need to maybe you need to develop, but maybe you could be an NFL player. That's where you pick matters for your future, doesn't it?
Yes. I wanted to come up with an example of Darnell Wright, but he was incredibly talented. That would have been a bad example. But you say $100,000 wouldn't make a big difference. If you're still going to end up at a top school, and let's put it in layman's terms, because he is still a layman. I mean, that would make a big difference in a job that I chose, $300,000 to $400,000.
It is, but if you're a potential first-round pick going for millions, it's not. But you have me sold where you're like, he's so good that it doesn't really matter. He could have played for Butch Jones and been a first-round pick. So, but like, okay, let's a good one. He's on our show a lot. Cooper Mays is a potential high NFL draft pick next year. I think where he chose to go to school mattered, though. Is that fair to say? Because I think
yes, for 2 reasons. One, Jeremy Pruitt really liked him, thought he was a ball player, even though he was undersized. So he got opportunities at tight end and a number of different positions. And 2, he got under Glenn Ellerbe, which helped turn him into a very good center. So I don't know that he made the decision based off Pruitt, but I think it ended up working based off Ellerbe, right?
Right. That's what I think too. So Jeremy Pruitt, so Cooper Mays is a guy that picking the right school affected him enough to help him become an NFL draft pick. Darnell Wright you talk about an anywhere guy. He's an anywhere guy where he probably would have been a top 10 draft pick no matter where he went, right?
Yep.
If he turned it on.
I agree. Check out my shirt. Look at it. Off the Hook Sports. Whoa, wrong side. Offthehooksports.com. Offthehooksports.com. You can check it out. The shirt's awesome. Brought to you by Apex Apparel Group Design. You get 15% off your first order. Unparalleled customer service. Just call Tyler. 865-919-3001. Right below 865-919-3001. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. BanksandJones.com.